Hi, in this final video on charts, we're going to look at options with pie charts. Now keep in mind there are other charts that you can use, different types, and they're worth exploring, but we will be addressing just the bar, line, and pie charts. Okay, to begin with, I've collected some data from students. I asked them what month they were born in, and the data is listed over here. And I could create this into a pie chart as it is. As a matter of fact, let me look at that. I'm going to say insert a pie, and there's a 2D pie. And I look at it and I like it, but there's a lot of information in there. And sometimes when you do this, you're not going to get such a big variance. You're going to get a lot of slices that look very, very similar, because it tends to balance out in most classes as to the month of the year that students were born. So what I've done is I've reworked the data over here, and I've totaled them up by season. So winter is a total of December, January, and February, and then spring, March, April, May, etc. Actually, when I've done this with students in the past, I actually start with December, and I collect the December data first. And then, as we're starting, I tell them that I'm going to pose them with a riddle, and that's why am I starting with December? Is there anything that they can figure out as to what would be a good reason that I would start collecting with December? And of course, I'm hoping that they see the alignment of the seasons, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. In any case, let's select this data. I'm going to insert a pie chart. Let's try the 3D. Well, the 3D doesn't work well necessarily in all chart types. It does in the pie chart particularly well. Let's pick a design, give it a nice title, and do some basic formatting. I can take this legend and simply increase the size of the font, make it a little easier to see. And maybe if I do that, I should increase the size of my title. Maybe not quite so much. By the way, you're not locked into the choices up here. If I wanted to choose something like 19 that wasn't a selection, I could do that. Okay, a couple of things to know about pie charts. First of all, if you click on them, now you've selected all the slices of the pie, and I grab this and try to move it, what I'm really going to be doing is taking one slice of the pie and pulling it out. And that can be super effective. That can be really nice. It's called an exploded pie. And this would be very useful, say, if I wanted to emphasize winter for some reason. And I can select the other pieces and pull them all apart if I want, but having one piece removed for a purpose can be very, very effective. If that was a mistake, you simply grab the slice, pull it back in, and the pie will no longer be exploded. Okay, if I do want to resize the chart element itself, click next to it. That's going to get you this box, and that will allow me, that will allow me to grab the corner and actually resize the graph section itself. Let's see what other options we have here. Well, the only other option I really have are these data labels. And I can place those in the center, at the outside edge, outside of the pie, best fit, which is going to leave it up to Excel to determine, or as a call out, which might be a nice option. There are additional options you could play around with if you wanted. Let's say that I'm going to put it here on the outside. If I click on one of those, it will select the entire set. And then I can do things like increase their size to make them a little more visible, maybe bold them. If I wanted to, I could change their colors. Also, if I want to change just one of them, I'm going to click on them, they'll all be selected, and then I'm going to click that individual piece again. And that would allow me to do things like, let me see if I can get it. A little difficult to grab right here. There it is. What I'm trying to get is that four-sided arrow, and then I can move it. Notice when I do move it, it's going to give me a leader line. There you go. Probably the simplest way is to make the box a little bigger so I can get the edge. And there. Okay, so I've got my leader lines and my chart's starting to look pretty good. Let me select those values one more time, and you can see that there are a series of options over here, so I don't have to have this displayed as a value or as a count. I could also turn off my leader lines if I really didn't want those, and I can show perhaps a percentage. So perhaps I can show these as a percent instead of as a count or a value, and I could show them as both. I could put in a category name which would give me the season. However, I've got my key down at the bottom, so that may be sufficient in this case. And there is also a series name, and that's going to be pretty useless. Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, 4. Okay. Other options, if I click, and you've got to be careful, if I click now and I go to the fill, and I've already downloaded some pictures, and I do pick a picture, notice it's taking the last picture I selected for the ice cream. Notice it's trying to make them all the same, and that, of course, is going to make your chart useless pretty much. So what I would rather do, let me escape. Undo that. Okay, I can see that I'm in winter here, so I'm going to click again and select only the winter slice. Now when I go get my picture, there's winter. And I can go ahead, this is spring. This one looks like summer. Some beach chairs, that must be it. And this one is fall. There you go. Now, I kind of like that, but it's a little confusing to me, so let's see if I can fix it up. First of all, there's no reason that my chart has to be this size. If I select the entire chart, I can make it bigger, and of course I could have done that with any of the charts that I've made. Also, this is a case where I think perhaps an exploded pie might be a better option. That makes it a little better. Okay, maybe a little. The other thing I can do is, if I'm selected on this area of the chart itself, I can right-click and I can go to 3D rotation. And under 3D rotation, I could rotate it around, which occasionally makes sense. And I could also rotate it on the y-axis, which means I'm turning it upright. I could also change the perspective until I get it just the way that I want. Okay, so that you can see there are soft edges, there are different options with the format, so there are a million things to play around in here if you want to spend the time. You might find that some students are motivated to do so. But that's the basics. Those are the basics of creating some different types of charts in Excel.